but it looks like it's so much more because I volumized it. I added all the vegetables, the mushrooms, the bell peppers, and then I can curl that up and have a bite. And again, if I want to add a few more calories, I can just simply throw some cheese on it. But I add it up. My lettuce is nice and sturdy, and oh, tastes just like a hamburger does. It's amazing all the flavor that comes out, and I feel like I'm actually eating.
You are.
And I am. So, that's just that part.
My mouth's watering just watching.
I know, right?
Yeah.
So here's the deal. For us to be eating right, and I'm going to show you this, we have to eat the rest. And this is what Brian was talking about. I would call him and say, man, this doesn't seem right because I'm stuffed, but I've got so much more to eat.
Seems like too much food. Look how full that plate is now.
Do you look like you're not eating? Do you look like you're going to be hungry? That plate is over full. It's covering the whole plate, and it's up. I mean, and all because we volumized our food. And only 225 calories. 225 calories. Breakfast was 240. Lunch is 225. You're at 665 calories now. No, 465 calories. My math wasn't so good on that. And you're welcome to have some of that, Brian. So, again, I use lettuce. You don't have to use lettuce. I do recommend against bread. No matter what you do, the way that I looked at it was this.
Thank you. I'm going to make myself one while he's talking.
Is that I started off having bread. I had found Pepperidge Farms little breads that were real thin, 40 calories a piece. So I'd have 80 calories in two very thin sliced pieces of bread. And I found, you know what? It wasn't filling me up. I was still hungry. So I decided, well, what could I do? And that's when I went to the sausage and the eggs for breakfast and got rid of the bread for breakfast because I could eat more. I mean, you saw the plate just full. I mean, look at this. Brian's having a lettuce wrap.
I can't even get all
contained because there's so much, and I still have a plate full of food. And that's the point of it, is that people like us that love to eat and we want to eat and we feel like we are starving ourselves if we're dieting, this stops that. Because
I really like the A1 sauce in there. I've
Yeah.
never done that before.
yeah,
That's
A1
good.
sauce is fantastic. So that's lunch. So we're up to 400, what did I say, 465 calories, 240 and 225. We're at 465. Don't necessarily need to clean my pan. I would have cleaned my pan in between. But let's go on to dinner. One of the other things you could do,
I like staying at lunch. This is good.
yeah, there you go. If you wanted to, and I went and bought these, I will sometimes use corn tortillas instead of using lettuce because I'll be in the mood for a tortilla. You get 3 of these Mission corn tortillas. These are gluten-free, of course, yellow corn, extra thin. 120 calories for 3 of them. That's 3 tacos. That's a lot of tacos for 6 ounces of meat. So if you were to do this instead of the lettuce, then your lunch would be 325 calories.
My nose is watering from the jalapeno. Yeah.
But 325 calories. That's it. By adding the corn tortillas in, so you'd still be under 600 calories for breakfast and lunch, and you haven't skimmed anything. You haven't not eaten. You have eaten, and that's the important part. You know, and we'll talk about that later on in the mental health part of it, the emotional part of it. But the corn tortillas is another aspect you can add if you'd rather use tortillas rather than lettuce. All right, so
And it's very important that it's corn and not flour, because the flour
Yes.
tortillas have a lot more calories, a lot more fat, and a lot more carbohydrates. Usually it's about 2 to 3 times the amount of calories in a flour compared to a corn.
now, and I will tell you this. The truth of it is that I'm counting calories because I figure whatever goes in, I've got to burn off. And so if I put 3,000 calories in, I got to burn 3,000 calories off. I don't care what kind of calories they are because that's the only way it works. You know, and I've told Brian this, and of course Brian doesn't like me when I say this, but you know, I told myself when I first started this, I'm going to eat 1,500 calories or less every day, regardless. So if I have a Dr. Pepper for breakfast, that's 240 calories off my 1,500, and that's all I'm eating. Of course, that's not good because I'm still hungry and I'm going to want to eat more. And those are bad calories, don't get me wrong, But I felt like as long as I don't eat over 1,500, I should be good because I'm burning off more. May not be good for my system. I may be depleting muscle. I may be losing muscle tissue, what have you, from a medical standpoint. But from a pure weight loss standpoint, that was my theory. And of course, I don't do the Dr. Pepper because I like to eat. And as you can see, I have filled the plates up.
One Dr. Pepper is about as many calories as what this entire meal was.
Yeah, one Dr. Pepper, that whole meal on the plate. So, no, also at lunch, I will get a bottle of water. These are Dasani drops, and I will use the flavored drops. This has no calories in it. I have found a new one from Crystal Light that's a coconut mango pineapple. That's, oh my God. In fact, I've had everybody in my office try it because it's been so good. And again, don't forget, you can add the fat-free mozzarella cheese if you're dying for cheese, because sometimes I am, and I want cheese. So now let's go on to dinner. So for dinner, and a lot of times, I'll be honest with you, I will not eat very much. I'll eat blackberries, blueberries, raspberries, cardboard turkey or ham, or pulled rotisserie chicken, and I'll let Brian tell you about that. And I'll have an avocado, or I'll have some of the some cheese that's really low in calories, like 35 calories per little pipe. And I'll let you tell them how I get dinner going.
Okay, so when he was mentioning about the pulled chicken, some grocery stores now, you know, if you go, obviously you see rotisserie chickens in grocery stores all the time. There's some grocery stores now that'll actually shred the chicken already and put it in containers for you, so you don't even have to take the chicken home and pull it apart. The chicken's already there, and that's actually a better choice than, let's say, a lunch meat chicken, because it's going to have fewer additives and preservatives in it, so you're going to have something fresh.
Now, here is 6 ounces of chicken. I bought chicken tenders, is what I bought. Oops, got in front of the sink there. And when you look at just 3 chicken tenders by itself, it doesn't look like much, but when you chop them up into diced small pieces, what it does is it volumizes the food. Because all of a sudden you've taken those 3 tenders, they're just long and skinny. By cutting them up, you make them look like a pile of chicken.
That's the same concept as you did with breakfast with the eggs. You mix up the eggs, you scramble them compared to just putting them plain eggs on there, and it makes it look bigger. And we eat with our eyes a lot. And I know we go for smell and taste as well, but think about when you go to a restaurant and you see the food being delivered to you, your eyes are what first grab your attention on food. And if you see you have a lot of food on your plate, whether you eat more or not, you're going to feel more full just because you have your brain's thinking, wow, that's a lot of food.
And again, I'm going to use garlic powder, onion powder, black pepper. This is white breast tenders, and I used 3 of them because it's 6 ounces, and I did weigh them to make sure that that was right. It's 90 calories for 4 ounces, so I've got 135 calories of chicken in my pan. I'm cooking it on a medium high, and all I'm going to do is I'm just going to brown them. I'm not going to cook them any more than that, because I'm then going to add my vegetables into that. Because for dinner, when you add a much more tougher vegetable, or not tougher, but much more al dente vegetable, you need something to help soften it up a little bit. So I add about 1/4 cup of water to my pan. Now, so I'm adding broccoli in here. I'm adding some cauliflower, because what we're going to have Asian chicken. So I'm adding my cauliflower in, and I'm adding like I said, I added the water in so that I could soften those vegetables and kind of steam them up real quick. And I've got my chicken pieces cut in, but what the vegetables do is they volumize your meal. I cannot express to you enough the key to volumizing your meal. In my mindset, if I was eating a portion that big, I was still hungry, regardless of being hungry or not. If I had just eaten 6 ounces of chicken plain, I'm going to feel like I haven't eaten enough, and I'm starving because I'm dieting. Now I'm not dieting, I'm creating, and I'm eating regular food. You notice everything is fresh. There is nothing in here from a can. There is nothing in here that's been processed. All of this is fresh. The chicken is fresh. The veggies are fresh.
And that's one aspect that some people, like for me, it's very important. The only way I know what's in my food is if I'm making it. And if I'm going somewhere else, even if it's a place that's healthy, I always have this like, gosh, I just don't really know everything that they put in there, or how much salt they put in there, or how much, sauce they put in there. Well, in this case, someone's hand could have been heavy that day on some things. And so in this case, you know what's in there.
Now I've got some celery, because again I'm making eggs and everything's about a handful, is what I kind of go off of. So I've added the celery. I've added 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, what do you call broccoli heads?
Yeah, it's broccoli flowers.
Broccoli flowers.
flowerets or whatever, yeah.
Flowerets, that's what they're called. So, or something like that anyways. So I've added that into the mix. So I'm letting that steam. I don't know if you can see the steam rising from the pan or not. Of course, Brian and I can see that.
Yeah.
Now I'm mixing it up, so I'm cooking my chicken. Now the reason why I browned my chicken first was so that I didn't boil my chicken. So I kind of sealed my chicken on both sides by kind of pan searing it a little bit, so that way I wouldn't have the water just absolutely absorb into the chicken and allow the broccoli and cauliflower to absorb it.
And that adds flavor too. If you brown the chicken first and then put liquid in there, that liquid actually takes on the flavor of the the stuff at the bottom of the pan.
Now, and surprisingly, and Brian's right, I mean, it's almost like a gravy is what you're making.
Mm-hmm.
And when you think about gravy, that's what you're doing. Now, you'll notice no jalapenos this time, no bell pepper this time. But that is normally a stay in what I normally eat. But I'm adding some green onion because surprisingly, everything's almost ready to be cooked up and done. So I'm adding a handful of green onion. Then, of course, I'm going to add mushrooms. Not everybody's going to like mushrooms, and I get that. So feel free to substitute them with something else, some other kind of vegetable. But the key is going to be using vegetables to volumize. If you don't like vegetables, it's going to be difficult. I will promise you that. But if you really want to lose weight and you feel like you need to do it, and you don't want to have to eat diet food because you won't eat diet food forever. That's how I knew a diet wouldn't work for me, because I know that I wasn't going to eat diet food forever. You know, Brian's an Advocare salesman, and I had or a representative. Yeah. And when I did this about 4 years ago, and I lost about 70, 80 pounds, but I was using the Advocare shakes. Well, it didn't last very long. It only lasted about 6 months. And because I knew it just wasn't. I'm not a shake guy. I'm not a powder person. I like food, and I want to eat.
There's something very important about that too. As far as any type of supplement, supplements only give your body what your food doesn't. Your supplement should never replace food.
One of the things, let me interrupt you for a second. One of the things I forgot, and let's talk about lunch while this cooks for a second. I always eat an avocado at lunchtime or at dinner. We looked it up on the Avocado Growers website to determine the calorie count, because avocados are hard to figure out what the calories are on them. And this is a small avocado, and we have figured out that it was 200 calories.
About 200 calories, yeah.
And so we add that to my lunch. So lunch is then 425 calories, but these are good calories, because the calories are coming from the fat, but the avocado fat is really good for you. And it's a volumizing vegetable. It really makes you feel full because of what you're eating, and it tastes really good. So I add that to my lunch. So with lunch, so my lunch is 6 ounces of ground turkey today, a handful of bell pepper chopped, handful of onion chopped, jalapeno chopped, garlic powder, onion powder, dill weed, black pepper to your liking, a tablespoon of A1 sauce that I put in, and then I use green leafy lettuce and romaine lettuce together to make the sandwich with the avocado for 425 calories.
I love avocado because I a lot of times use that in place of cheese, because it has that creaminess factor to it. If you mush it up a little bit and you put it over something like that, to me it has that same kind of texture.
Absolutely. And so then what we're going to add, because I want to add a little flavor to this. Like this by itself right here is really good, but I want to add a little flavor. I've got a few sauces out that I use on a regular basis. This is the orange sauce that I use from Panda Express, 70 calories for 2 tablespoons. This is a less sodium teriyaki. Now this is probably a better choice, 15 calories per tablespoon. So 2 tablespoons would be only 30 calories. Or you can use the regular teriyaki based in glaze, and that is 20 calories per tablespoon, to add some flavor to your dinner, to make it more Chinese or Asian-like. So I've decided to use the orange sauce. And so I've got 2 tablespoons in here, that's 70 calories. So I'm going to pour my orange sauce. And you could use fresh oranges if you wanted. Maybe put a dash of sugar in it to help sweeten it up a little bit.
You cut an orange in half and you squeeze some juice in there, it really ends up being fantastic.
Yeah, so you can use that as an alternative. I prefer the orange sauce. It makes me feel like I'm eating at Panda Express. So, and I'm using, as you notice, I'm using my spoon that I took the sauce out of so I can get all my sauce, Because by golly, if I'm going to be billed for those calories, I'm going to get them all. So I mix that up, and